Hello everyone, my name is Fatima and welcome back to the race edit. Round 2. Now, disclaimer, I did record a video for the Bahrain Grand Prix and I was really wanting to upload it, but I had some technical difficulties unfortunately. So, the Bahrain Grand Prix video will get uploaded. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. It could be at the very last race of the season. But it's gonna get uploaded some way somehow. Okay, it's gonna get uploaded. And I'm so sad because I really wanted to be everything to be in chronological order because that's just how my brain works. But there is a Bahrain Grand Prix race weekend recap video out there somewhere. Hopefully, my technical difficulties will not be so technical difficulty anymore. But with that being said, let's just get right into round 2. Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. This race is more action-packed than Bahrain, that's for sure. But it still could have, it's not the best race in the entire world, but it was a race. A race was had. So let's get right into it. How this works is I go through qualifying really quickly and then I do a team recap. So with that being said, Q1, we had Zhou Guanyu P20 due to DNF. It was inevitable after his crash in FP3. It would have been by like a luck of chance if the mechanics were able to get the car ready in time, which they were, but I think there was like a minute to spare for quali for him to even try and get a lap done in Q1. So yeah, with that being said, P20 for Zhou, P19 for Sargent. I'm pretty sure he also had an incident. Was it Q1? I think he clipped the wall and after that it was pretty much game over for Logan Sargent. And Logan Sargent, I just want him to do well. I do. I really want him to do well. And I know it's only race 2, but I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you, Logan. Then we have, oh my goodness, Alpine. Oh, Alpine. Alpine were both kicked out in Q1. We had Gasly P18 and Ocon P17, and honestly, for a car that should be battling the likes of McLaren, allegedly, it's just not good enough. And it's crazy because like, I feel so bad for the drivers because the drivers can only work with what they got, and what they got is just not a good car. The machinery is just not there. And I know it's early days, but like, to be the worst car in the grid, just not good enough. And then we had Bottas P16, and I feel like I should be as riled up as I am for Alpine being so bad, versus how Sauber also, both cars were out in Q1, but I don't know, I'm not. Maybe because like I didn't expect so much from Kick Sauber, but I expected a lot more from Alpine. I'm not sure, but yeah. Then we have Q2. Oh my goodness. We had Hulkenberg P15 due to DNF. I think he had an issue with his gearbox. I could be wrong. If I remember correctly, it was a gearbox issue. Ricardo P14. K-Mag P13. P12, Alexander Albon. And then we had a special guest this weekend. A young little 18-year-old, also known as Ollie Behrman. P11, his F1 debut because Carlos Sainz had appendicitis and had to get his appendix out, and I know that pain because I got my appendix out when I was 16 and oof, not fun. But Carlos is better than me because he was on track the next day. Me, personally, when I got my appendix out, I stayed in bed, but that's why I'm not a racing driver. Oh, Ollie Behrman, you sweet, sweet child. Because he's literally a teen. He's 18. He did so great in qualifying. I know he was upset because he didn't make it to Q3, but like to almost make it to Q3 and to almost knock out Lewis Hamilton, that's a feat. So P11 was Behrman. Then we had P10 Lance Stroll, P9 Yuki Tsunoda, P8 Lewis Hamilton. I don't even want to talk about it. As a Hamilton fan, I will not doubt that man when it comes to his racecraft. When it comes to his qualifying, on the other hand, I'm just like, buddy, I can't go through this stress. Although he was not very happy with the car this weekend, and the car just was not good this weekend also. But watching a Lewis Hamilton qualifying session really hurts. It stresses me out. I mentioned in my last video, I get more anxiety watching quali than I do watching the race half the time. Which is crazy because the race already stresses me out more than enough. So why is qualifying taking that throne? I don't know. But yeah, we had Lewis Hamilton P8, George Russell P7, Mercedes get it together, Lando Norris P6, Oscar Piastri P5, funny. Fernando Alonso, do what Fernando Alonso does best, getting P4, just taking that Aston Martin and just bringing it in qualifying, because that car can do things in quali. Sergio Perez P3, Charles Leclerc P2, yeah, and then Max Verstappen, of course, P1. So that was qualifying in a nutshell. Let's talk about the race a little. Let's talk about Alpine. We had Gasly P20 and then Ocon P13. Pierre Gasly, unfortunately, didn't even have a race. Right at the end of the formation lap, he came on the team radio mentioning something about a gearbox issue, and that was Gasly's race. I think he did like half of lap 1 and then he was out. And then Esteban Ocon, on the other hand, P13. He was in that midfield battle. He was really in there with them. He was in that midfield battle behind Kevin, Albon, and himself, and Yuki Tsunoda. It's just that Alpine is just so not good. But he really put his foot down on it, and he said, "You won't see the last of me." But DNF for Alpine for Pierre, and then P13 for SD. No points in race number 2 again. But again, it's early days, so we'll see what happens. But that was their race. And then we go on to Aston Martin. We had Lance Stroll P19, DNF, Fernando Alonso P5. The juxtaposition between those two is actually insane, especially for this race and for a lot of the races. Lance Stroll, my Canadian brother, I just want better for you. You know, my thing with the Aston Martin cars, I actually don't know what to think of it. I don't know how fast it is, and I don't know how slow it is, because over a 1-lap pace, Fernando Alonso is putting it in places where it probably shouldn't be. Like, he's really maximizing the best out of that car. But then over a full race, they kind of drop back. I guess, yeah, they dropped back. But he had a steady race today. He had a quiet race today. He ended up P5. Lance Stroll ended up causing the safety car because he crashed into the barrier. He went into the barriers. I think lap 7 it was that he went into the barriers. So he's the one who ended up causing the safety car. And I just really want better for him. And I feel like I'm allowed to say that. I just... Shall we move on? We shall. We have Kick Sauber next with Zhou Guanyu, P18, and Valtteri Bottas, P17. I don't know, man. It was, you know what? Yeah, I feel like I'm at the same place with Kick Sauber that I am with Alpine, even though, but I'm not as, like, shocked by what's going on with Sauber and their car. But, to be fair, he didn't pit in the safety car like pretty much half the grid did. He actually stayed out with a couple of others, such as, I think, Hamilton, and Norris and Hulkenberg. They stayed out while everyone else went into the pit. So, and that was in hopes that he would get into the points, but unfortunately he did not. And then Bottas was there. Oh my gosh, Zhou had a terrible pit stop. Oh my gosh, what? Last week it was Bottas with the 52.4 second pit stop, and then this week it was Zhou Guanyu, and I was just like, this should not be happening, not twice in a row, come on. That was really, really upsetting to see, because ultimately, like, I mean, he was already, like, I'm pretty sure he was already out of the points, but, like, ultimately he was really out of the points after that really long pit stop, which is just terrible to see. So there's a couple of things that they got to work on over there at Sauber, I have to say. Bottas was really... I like him, but there was just, yeah, I don't think he did anything this race. He was really nowhere. Even during the midfield battle, he was like back watching them have that battle. Oh my gosh, what is going on? You can't, what what's going on? Moving on to VCarb, Visa, Cash App, Red Bull. I finally got their name right for once. I'm so proud of myself. We had Ricardo P16, Sonoda P15. Daniel, what was Daniel? Where was Daniel this race? Just like Bottas, where was Daniel this race? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. They just went missing. Yuki Tsunoda, on the other hand, was just places this race. At one point he was in the points. Yuki's race was interesting because he started P9 and ended up P15, and that must hurt. That, yeah. Yeah. I would say he had a pretty fun race in the sense that he had a lot of battles. He was, overtaking, getting overtaken. But again, that car is so interesting to me because what was happening during the practice sessions in Bahrain? Like they were really doing something and then they weren't. That RB, which is a good thing I guess for Zach Brown, but moving on. That car not so good. I think I would say they're the second worst car right after Alpine. Is that crazy to say? Because Kick Sauber, I mean, I'm basing it off the fact that Zhou finished P11 last race. I guess that's where I'm basing it. But those three are like neck and neck right now. We'll talk about Williams in a second. Oh, how about now? Let's talk about now. Let's talk about Williams right now. Williams, P14 for Logan Sargent, P11 for Alexander Albon. You know what? Logan had a quiet race today, and that's pretty much all I can ask for at this point. Quiet race, no drama, drama-free race for him, especially after last week, which was out of his control. That was not his fault. And I really hate to do this. And I don't want to do this. Because completely different cars. Completely. But we had a rookie on the grid today by the name of Ollie Behrman. And he was in the points. 6 points if I'm correct. Logan has raced 20... I think there was 23. Yeah, there was 23 races last year. So Logan has raced 25 races. And has... and has 1 point. I really want to see him succeed in this sport. I do, but it just it puts things to light, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens in the next few races because I'm rooting for him. I am. I'm always rooting for an underdog. That's why I stay rooting for Williams because I want them to be successful. Alexander Albon, P11 today. He had a great race. I mean, as great as you can get when you get P11. I feel like getting P11, that would make me so mad because it's just like you're so close. And he was trying. He had that great overtake with Yuki. He was clipped by Kevin Magnussen, which ended up with K-Mag having a penalty. We'll talk about that later. But Kevin Magnussen was trying to regain back his position, left Alex no room, and ended up clipping him. But aside from that, that midfield battle between all of them, that was great. Alex had a fun race, but again, like he said in his post-race interview, nobody wants to be P11. And that's just the truth, because, like, come on. Boo. Sorry, that's so mean. Why would I do that? And while we're talking about Kevin Magnussen, let's just get right into Haas. We had Kevin Magnussen P12 and then Nico Hulkenberg P10. Interesting. I'm always suspicious of Haas because, and I said this in my last video, which I keep referencing my last video, which was never posted, because I don't know if it's ever going to get posted, so I might as well just reference it. And if it does get posted, I'm so sorry. But I'm always suspicious of Haas because they typically do start off pretty well, and then they fall off. But this season feels a bit different, The season does feel a bit different. They got their first point, and that was due to Kevin Magnussen just just putting it all out there. He said, absolutely not. You guys are not going to get past me. He held them back. He held back Ocon, Albon, Sonoda. There was a train behind him because he was not letting those cars get past him. And that could be by chance or it could be a team strategy because he did first receive a 10-second penalty for causing a collision, and that was the one with Albon. And then he received another 10-second penalty, which could be a bit controversial. I'm not the one who said it. I am the one who said it actually. Could be a bit controversial, but this was because this was at turn 4. Can't remember what lap it was, for gaining an advantage over Sonoda. So in the end, a 20-second penalty for Kevin Magnussen, and his race was over. So might as well just hold everyone else back, right? I mean, hey, I'm not saying he did that on purpose. Maybe he was just really defending. Could have. I don't know. I'm not on the team. Could have happened. But anyway, moving on from Haas to moving on. Oh, sorry, I can't forget about Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg finished P10. He got in the points, and again, I spoke so much about Kevin Magnussen because it could be said that perhaps Kevin Magnussen was holding everyone else back, so there could be a great pit window for his teammate Nico Hülkenberg to get into the pits, come right back out with no further issues. That's just an idea I'm throwing out there. You know, it could be said. It could be said. It could be said. Then we move on to Mercedes. Hamilton, P9. George Russell, P6. Let me give credit where credit is due. Lewis Hamilton showed us a masterclass in defending. Oscar Piastri, oh poor Oscar, I'm an Oscar fan. He got a masterclass in defending today because he tried so hard to get past Hamilton, and he just couldn't do it. He just wasn't able to. It was so bad that at one point on Oscar's team radio, his engineer came on and said that Lewis Hamilton was, what did they say he was doing again? Moving under braking verbatim, and that it almost caused an accident, which was really funny to hear. I mean, please be so serious right now. Please McLaren, please be so serious right now. But that was really funny to hear because that's not what was happening, hun. He was just defending, and he was defending hard. Let me tell you something. Put Lewis Hamilton in a good car and let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook. I can't go through the Mercedes struggle anymore, which technically I'm not going to, because the minute he goes to Ferrari, I'm out too. It is what it is. It is what it is. But sorry, that McLaren comment was really funny because even the commentators were like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. They're just getting a bit frustrated, and yeah, that was funny. Because be so for real right now, McLaren. But Oscar's behind Hamilton, who was on old medium tires, while Oscar was on new hards, and it just felt like 20 laps of him trying to get that edge over him and get past him, but he just couldn't, unfortunately. And hey, that's okay. I mean, he still ended up getting that position because Hamilton ended up boxing, which put him P9. We knew that was going to happen because the strategy just was not on his side today. After the safety car, Russell ended up hitting, Hamilton didn't, and it was just, the strategy just wasn't on his side. So Russell ended up P7. Honestly, I think he had a pretty quiet race. I don't really remember hearing much from Russell this race aside from him talking about Lando's jump start, which we'll get into. But yeah, he ended up P7, and that's just what Mercedes could do today. P9 and P7. Just get me to 2025, please. I'm tired. I can't do it. And then we go to McLaren. Like Hamilton, strategy just was not on Lando's side either. Oscar ended up hitting, Lando didn't, which put Lando P1 at one point, and he was leading the race at one point with Max Verstappen behind him. And I have a hot take. Don't get mad at me, guys. I have a hot take. If I can praise Hamilton's defending over Piastri on new, fresh, hard tires, I feel like I'm allowed to say that Norris didn't put up a fight against Verstappen. I get it. I get it. They were on different strategies. Lando was in his own, was having a different race from Verstappen, but come on, give us something. I'm sorry, I have to say it. I have to say it. Give us something, like, defend. Don't just give it up that easily. Like, personally, that's just my hot take. I just feel like, I get it. Verstappen was always going to get ahead of Lando, but just, what's the point of racing if you're just gonna let the guy through? I know you don't want an accident to happen. This is a track where that can happen, but at the same time, just, we saw so many people defending today, that defending and just putting it all out there, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying, if Hamilton can defend over a guy who has fresher tires than he does, then Lando can do the same. And that's just my hot take for the day. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. Also, let's talk about the jump start that didn't get a penalty. Curious. George was on the radio real quick. God, I can't with that man. He's so unserious. George was on the radio real quick calling out Lando's jump start, and everyone was really confused when he didn't get flagged for a penalty. And I have to go back and see what was said about that, because it was clearly a jump start. No? Anyway, Piastri, P4, great race for him. He was oh, Oscar, you're so real. He was really fighting. He was really out here trying to get past Hamilton, and he just couldn't do it. It was just P4 for Piastri. Great. Interesting thing about that McLaren is they're really good in the high speed corners, but their straight line speed is slightly off of Merckx. So that was another issue. That was why Oscar had a lot of issue catching up with trying to get past Hamilton, should I say. But when Hamilton was behind Norris, I was like, where'd he go? He flew in the high-speed corners. I was like, hold on, come back. I blinked and he was gone. So, interesting. I'm curious to see how they fare on other tracks. Moving on to Ferrari. We had Ollie Behrman P7. I'm just so happy for him. He held his own today. He held his own this entire weekend. Wow. P7, your debut race, you got points. That's all you can ask for. And if for a person who races an F2 hoping to get an F1 seat, he did what he needed to do. He proved himself, and hopefully we'll see him racing in the upcoming years. That would be great, because I think he really put it all out there. But good for him. It was so funny. I remember at one point the commentators were like, it's already a lot being in the midfield, but then being sandwiched between Tsunoda and Kevin Magnussen, yeah, that's not ideal, bud. And he held his own. He overtook Tsunoda after the safety car and Zhou after the safety car, and then he even came on the team radio to say that Haas was slow. Yes, it is. It's a slow car, we know. Great race for him. Great race for him. Great race from him. I'm really last year we had Liam Lawson when Ricardo was injured. He also just had some great races. I'm really excited for this new generation of F1 drivers. I'm really excited to see what they're gonna bring, because when they've come in, they've shown and they've proved themselves. So I'm really excited. Then we have Charles, P3 podium. Ferrari has 2 back-to-back podiums now. One with Carlos, race 1. One with Charles, race 2. I'm curious to see what's going to happen for the remainder of the season. Their race pace looks good. It's not Red Bull, but their race pace looks good. Hopefully by the end of the season, they'll be able to fight for wins. And then finally we have Red Bull, Perez P2, Max Verstappen P1, another masterclass from Red Bull, another masterclass from Max Verstappen. There's really not much more that I can say besides that. They just got it right. Red Bull got it right, and everyone else needs to get it together, because I'm trying to see some racing at the top with the big guys at number 1. I'm trying to see some racing over there too, you know? Put him under pressure. Lando. Sorry, that was crazy. And that's that. That is my race weekend recap for Formula 1, for Saudi Arabia, for Jeddah. Quickly before I peace out and go to bed because I'm so tired, my predictions for round 3, Australia. Ugh, I'm gonna have to be up so early. Actually, when does the race start? I'll have to check. I just know I'm gonna have to be up so late or so early, one of the two, and it's just not gonna be a fun time for me to be up that early, but I will be up and I will be watching. Race, my top 10 for Australia. I don't know. I didn't write it down. P1. Let me be a bit different. I'm gonna say P1 Perez. Why not? P2 Verstappen. P3 because he's always gonna be my top 3. I don't care. I don't care how bad that car is. He's always gonna be my top 3. Lewis Hamilton. If Perez doesn't get P1, then I want Hamilton to get P1, but that's just me. But realistically, P1 Perez, P2 Verstappen, P3 Hamilton, P4 Leclerc, P5 Sainz, P6 Norris. Oh, P6 I'm gonna say Russell, P7 Norris, P8 Piastri, P9 Alonso, P10, you know what? Tsunoda. Actually, no, P10, I'm gonna say Albon. Yeah, P10 Albon. I'm locking it in. I'm locking it in. Compared to this race that we had today in Jeddah, do my predictions seem out of whack and out of crazy? Yeah, probably, but hey, why not? If you dream big, it might come true. Anyway, that's all for today. I am so tired. I might rework my predictions. I might not. I'm just so tired. That is all for today. I hope you guys had fun watching this video because I had fun making it, and I will see you all in Australia. And if you did like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. But that's that on that. I'll see you all in, I almost said Saudi Arabia. I'll see you all in Australia.